This is The Full View. Welcome back. Now, liquor traders have committed to adhere to their licensing conditions as well as trade responsibly. They say they recognize the important role that liquor traders ought to play in supporting government's efforts of ensuring a safer festive season where incidents that are linked to alcohol abuse are reduced to a bare minimal. And these include, but not limited to, road fatalities as a result of drunken driving. Is this realistic? Is this a realistic outlook, though? Well, for this discussion, we have Mr Lucky Ntimane, the convener of the National Liquor Traders, to give us those answers. And Mr. Ntimane, thank you so much for joining us. Festive greetings to you. Welcome to the show. Your commitment to assist in curbing alcohol-related behavior this festive season. How do you plan on doing that? Is it realistic?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes, indeed, it is realistic. If you look at liquor traders in the past, they used to play a leading role in communities, in society in which we operate. So we decided that we're not going to sit in a corner and watch things go wrong in our country. We ought to play a leading role in ensuring that we contribute positively to our society. Hence, we are partnering with the South African Police Services and the Ministry of Police to ensure that we are part of the Safer Festive Season campaign. And our responsibility there is with regards to alcohol, ensuring that we do not sell alcohol to those that are under the age of 18, but also to encourage our patrons that they do not need to drink and drive. They need to sit down if they feel that they want to have a drink. But also, we look at the issue of license regulation with regards to our traders. We need to oblige with the closing hours, but also not make disturbances so that our neighbors can also be able to sleep in peace and enjoy a festive season. So that pledge that our liquor traders committed to, we feel that is going to make a lot of difference in the lives of our people, but also it also further says that our traders are putting the lives of our people ahead of their profits.
I mean, speaking of profits, we know that in townships as well as far-flung areas, I mean, the adherence to those strict regulations as well as guidelines around the sale of liquor to underage kids is not really necessarily adhered to. So how are you working around that? And also those traders that are more or less informal, they don't necessarily abide by the laws because they're in far-flung areas, so law enforcement cannot reach them at that space.
So we understand that we will have rotten apples in our midst.
Of course.
But I think the biggest culprits are actually the Shabin. So maybe let me highlight the difference between a Shabin and a tavern.
Yeah.
So a tavern has a license to sell alcohol for own consumption, meaning that people can buy and sit and drink. But a Shabin, on the other hand, it's an establishment that sells liquor but does not have a license to sell, meaning that it's an illegal establishment. So what we have seen is that a lot of our issues seem to emanate from the Shabin environment, but then hence our partnership with the police that we need to clamp down on these. People that do not have a liquor license ought not to be trading in alcohol in our account, and a lot of issues that we're dealing with, alcohol abuse as it were, come from that space.
But I mean, when you mentioned that, you know, the difference between Shabins and taverns, as you've just stipulated, then we hear from those illegal traders that the process to acquire a legal license is just too tedious. There's a lot of blockages. That is why they just decide to sell from behind, of course, you know, the realms of the law. So how do you deal with that? And how do you advise them to then come forward and say, you know what, I'm going to do this in the proper prescripts of the law and abide by the liquor trading initiatives and laws?
If you look at the issues that we're dealing with as it pertains to abuse of alcohol, the measures of obtaining a license ought to be stringent. It cannot be something that is just dished out like Simba chips. So we do welcome that, you know, the measures of obtaining a liquor license are very stringent, and that those that, you know, are prepared to wait means that they will be responsible and they will safeguard their licenses. Hence, it is difficult for a tavern not to follow the regulations because it is difficult and expensive to obtain a license.
Talk to us about those requirements to obtain a license very quickly, Lucky.
So because we have 9 provinces in South Africa, we have 9 different liquor laws. Okay. So it is different when you apply for a liquor license in the Western Cape as it will be in KZN or in Gauteng, for example. In other provinces, you'll have to subject yourself to fingerprints to see if you have a criminal record. In some instances, you have to be a registered entity. You cannot just operate without the necessary documents. So there's varied measures that are required in order to obtain a liquor license. But we welcome those because they have to be stringent. Otherwise, everyone will be selling alcohol, but people will not then be held accountable because it is easy to get a license. So the fact that it is difficult means that people will then have to safeguard their licenses and will then have to ensure that they follow all the regulations that govern how they sell liquor.
And then what are you currently doing in collaboration with police to try and combat illicit liquor traders that have been mushrooming? Because like we often hear that those that are responsible often just pay the police bribes or the authorities bribes and get their stock back and just continue with business as usual.
I think the police are doing a good job. If you look at this festive season, I think about 17,000 Shabins have been closed down. I think the number will only increase. So we need to support those police as members of communities and society. We need to be able to report those establishments that are selling in our communities without the liquor license. We believe that the breakthrough from the police side actually comes from the support from communities. So we need to continue doing that.
All right, Lucky, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck with that initiative. That was Mr Lucky Ntimane, the convener of the National Liquor Traders.